Do you know where you're going to? You will like the things that we are showing you.
Wherever you're going to, make sure you go to Thomas Cook first, because we've cut the brochure price of over 1 million holidays from leading tour operators. So book at these special prices through Thomas Cook now.
Do you know where you're going to?
Don't just book it, Thomas Cook it.
Thomas Cook Flight 2643, the overnight flight from Orlando, was also the company's last. From the moment it touched down in Manchester this morning, all activity ended. Thomas Cook's network of travel agents never opened, its airport check-in desks remained unstaffed.
If you asked anyone to name a travel agent on the high street before 2019, there is a good chance that they would have said Thomas Cook. You see, Thomas Cook was the oldest and best known travel agent in the UK, and that is why it's a shock that they collapsed in the summer of 2019. In the first episode of this series, I will be taking a look at what led to the collapse of Britain's oldest and most trusted travel agent. Founded back in 1841 by businessman and Baptist preacher Thomas Cook, the company is widely considered as the world's oldest travel firm. It began life by organising railway excursions and expanded steadily to develop a broader range of travel-related businesses. The most recent financial year even saw the firm recording revenues of £9.6 billion, mainly on the back of its hotel, resort and airline businesses, which serviced nearly 20 million travellers across 16 countries. It also employed more than 21,000 people, 9,000 of whom were located in the United Kingdom. In an era where more people are able to travel abroad, it seems scarcely conceivable that one of the industry's longest running companies could end up closing down. Failure to adapt and stay competitive with a new generation of more flexible travel companies, travel-related online services and low-cost airlines such as EasyJet and Ryanair meant that it had gradually become tougher for Thomas Cook to win business throughout the decade. To compound matters, potential customers were becoming increasingly accustomed to devising their own holidays rather than using travel agents. The environment to which Thomas Cook operated radically changed with the advent of budget air travel, online travel services, and easy-to-access private accommodation through online platforms like Airbnb.
Jake Tapper here. Let's go back to the breaking news out of Turkey, what the Prime Minister there is calling an attempted uprising and what looks increasingly like an attempted coup.
Confirmed officially that a coup was underway, but called for calm. Now, he said a group within Turkey's military had attempted...
The situation only worsened in 2016. Political unrest in Turkey eventually led to an attempted presidential coup, meaning that a country that represented one of Thomas Cook's top customer destinations experienced a pronounced downturn in tourism numbers. Fast forward 2 years and 2018 heatwave only amplified the company's woes, as more European holidaymakers than normal opted to stay at home. And with Brexit adding further problems to the mix, including a drastic weakening of the pound hitting UK customers' purchasing power abroad, and the climate of uncertainty causing a drop in summer holiday bookings, Thomas Cook ended up being on the receiving end of drastically tougher headwinds that ultimately could not be overcome. But it was insurmountable debt that sealed Thomas Cook's fate in the end. The company failed to clear a debt burden of £1.1 billion that had almost destroyed it back in 2011. Several ill-advised deals, especially in 2007's merger with My Travel Group, a company that had achieved a profit only once in its previous 6 years, saddled the group with excessive debt. And despite raising $425 billion from shareholders in 2013, this ultimately proved insufficient in pulling the company out of the red, with vast sums of money being paid out just to service outstanding debt. By August 2019, a £900 million funding package was secured as part of the rescue deal led by Thomas Cook's main shareholder, the Chinese conglomerate Fosun International. The original terms of the plan would see Fosun inject half of the amount into the business and, in return, receive at least 75% of Thomas Cook's tour operator and 25% of its airline businesses. However, an 11th-hour request from the creditor banks to obtain a further $200 million in contingency funding to sustain them during the quieter winter months precipitated the collapse of the deal, and with it, Thomas Cook itself. Although the company bosses met the creditors on September 21st to try and negotiate a last-minute turnaround deal, they were unsuccessful. Videos started to emerge of hotels in Tunisia stopping Thomas Cook passengers from leaving them, and trying to charge them extra as they feared Thomas Cook wouldn't keep its word on footing the bill. In the early hours of Monday, 23rd of September, the UK company that revolutionised the package holiday filed for compulsory liquidation. Following the failure of a last-ditch rescue negotiations, the UK Civil Aviation Authority announced that Thomas Cook had ceased trading with immediate effect. With planes still in the air and others waiting to take off, videos soon started to emerge of emotional staff members thanking passengers for their patience and support.
Just like that, with 2 young children to support. We were asked by the CAA to be part of the repatriation efforts with our friends and colleagues here at SmartLinks. But as it stands, we are unsure if we will get paid on Monday. However, we have never felt more strongly about anything in our lives than being part of this effort, as even though we have been abandoned by our company, we will not abandon you, our loyal customers.
The tour operator had collapsed after a mammoth 178 years of business. In the words of Thomas Cook's Group Chief Executive Officer Peter Finkhauser, the demise of the company was a matter of profound regret. The impact of the collapse was enormous. While many bided their time in hotels or airports, passengers in Orlando, Florida reportedly suffered the shame of being offered free admission to SeaWorld. At least one visitor expressed a preference to remain on the airport's floor instead. In one particularly tragic case, a 67-year-old German passenger in Reus, Spain, suffered a cardiac arrest and died at the airport while en route to her rescue flight. The following 2 weeks saw the CAA complete the country's biggest peacetime repatriation. Codenamed Operation Matterhorn, they returned 140,000 UK-based Thomas Cook customers who were still abroad when the collapse occurred. So after my research, I've come to realise that Thomas Cook was bound to fail in this day and age. It started off well in the 60s, 70s and 80s with people using them to go on holiday. But in this day and age now, with people being able to book through Ryanair, people like that, and being able to go on Airbnb and choose where you want to go and do it yourself, they didn't really stand much chance. Add into the mix the COVID-19 pandemic that is sweeping the world at the moment. Thomas Cook wouldn't have been able to survive it, and I do not think that this is the last story that we'll hear of a major airline going bust. And if you've made it this far, I'd just like to thank you for watching this video. I'm going to be making more videos on defunct companies from around the world, and if you would like to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe, and until next time, thank you.